of freaking technical issues, and I forgot to pin it after everything was said and done. Mad at myself for that shit because it was a great interview. It was an industry insider with the Puffy trials. My boy for 20 years, but he was signed with Warner Brothers and been to a party and all that. Ooh, all that caught in the love, huh? Better watch what you say, young man. All right. Well, we're live now. That's cool.
I love carrot cake.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
let me mute this. Throw it here. Trump keeping us busy. I thought it was going to slow. It's still getting more and more.
What do you mean?
It's remarkable.
What, Trump?
I'm gonna take one of your old things that you said to me and actually maybe do it.
What?
Play my opening.
Hmm? The what?
Play my opening.
You
I
mean the
might just do
intro?
the opening.
The intro.
Sorry.
The intro theme.
Yeah, I might just do that. I'm not seeing a reason why not.
The light is just right.
Give a moment for anybody who might decide they want to join because we pushed. I haven't really. I didn't really give a heads up on it.
Oh, okay. No promo? That's fine.
That we was gonna be late. I dropped the ball on it.
Memorial Day weekend. Yeah, I gotta buy a new light. I'm at this is my
Say
Amazon.
that every episode.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in my Amazon because I put a lot of stuff in my Amazon box shopping cart because tomorrow is Memorial Day and it's supposed to be some sales. Okay. Desk lamp. Because I got mine's from Target, I think it was, for $5. Let's see.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Let's see. Let's see. I think from now on, these people should always have their standard to low to high. You know what I mean? Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I want the same exact lights. The thing about these lights is that they don't die. You know what I mean? Why can't all light bulbs be like this? I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
I don't. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started because we are doing a live, and I'm not going to be able to edit this. Can't edit lives, so I'm a. I didn't get the thing started. I'm just gonna go ahead and run. Well, for those of you who joined us, welcome to the think tank, where we use critical thinking, deductive reasoning, picture common sense to draw unbiased logical conclusions. Today, I'm here back with my might as well be co-host. This is running joke at this point because we do our episode every week, one live, one recorded. We're live every Sunday night except for the Sunday it's 10 o'clock. But generally we're live every Sunday night, and then we record on Thursday and have something for y'all for Friday to Saturday, just to try and keep up with the Trump administration that's definitely going hard at making a lot of things happen very quickly. So, for those of y'all who are new and have not yet met the Honorable Dion Powell, I'm gonna let him introduce himself before we jump in.
Hello, everybody. My name is District Leader Dion Powell here in the Bronx, New York. And the reason why I was trying to do like this because I was trying to make the MSDNC Simone Sanders when she goes, how about politicking and ball tricking? But seriously, folks, I'm also known as the smiling black man here. because I'm very happy that we have a president in our White House that actually keeps his promises, good, bad, or otherwise. And I try to stay center right now. I am a consultant. Right now is a petitioning period. And I try to be what's called a Trump apologist. I may not be able to defend everything he does, but I try to give the logic and reason to Leo's common sense of what he does to hopefully influence some of you viewers to sway your attention towards a more positive way and help us try to make America great again. And most importantly, if you are Black like me, help us, like we say in Blexit, change the narrative for African Americans. That's a lot.
And the narrative definitely needs to be changed, but the shift that we're seeing is not exactly the change that I believe most Black Americans are hoping for, even though it appears that more and more Black Americans are happy with what they're seeing. I think they might need their bifocals checked. Let's let's get into a little bit of what is actually happening at the present moment. So,
I'm grandma.
okay.
Yeah, one of
That's
those black people
interesting.
need his bifocals checked, right, Leo? Oh, wow, this is actually pretty cool. I think I'm gonna go through this episode just like this because I want to make sure the world can see what's going on.
And I think the world is going through like that. I think they're doing. How is your vision with two pairs of glasses on? Because you doubled your vision, now it's quadrupling your vision. How does that actually look?
I feel fine. Um,
That's going to give you a headache eventually.
okay, well, I'll see what's going on. Let's see. I thought I put my notes here. Okay, we go. All right, go ahead. We can start now.
I see I got some typos because he kept going today. I was adding stuff and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to start putting it for the next episode because it just keeps going. But I did throw a couple of more things in. Chrysler is shutting down production in America. This is an American company. It's money American car companies, as he said, he's bringing in because of the 25% tariffs on said vehicles. Apparently, Chrysler said enough is enough. 25%, 10% with a headache, we're leaving. Do you think that other companies are going to follow suit, or do you think Trump is going to be able to strong arm everybody else?
Well, from what I'm reading here, um, yes, one plant here is closing. Sales were down 11%. Well, the burden on these companies may be a lot, give and take. However, just like capitalism, another company will rise to the surface to take advantage of the opportunity, I think. But again, this takes time. And so far from the tariff war, as it were, more countries are coming to this table to negotiate, which is great. Let's see, half of January, February, March, April. May, so let's say 5 months now into it. And so far, overall in totality in various areas, still the president is actually doing better than the Democrats would have because their ratings are in the toilet.
Well, for us here at YouTube, ratings is everything. For the president of the United States, the functionality of the country should be the measure of his aptitude and success. From what I've seen at the present moment, and from what I'm seeing, he promised to end two wars. Now there's like six. He's
Hmm.
promised to bring prices down. Prices are up. The promises made have not been promises kept. He blames the terrible state that America was in as a laughingstock to the world on all of his predecessors because he's the savior. I am offended. I, as someone who has actually served for this country, feel like the country I served was not a laughing stock of the world. I believe that this country was the number one country in the world. And for someone to come and say that we were a laughing stock and everybody was a failure except for him sounds narcissistic.
Well,
But
he is a part of
people are
that
feeding
God
into it.
triad. That's why he's successful by certain terms. But again, I think though, observing how Trump has handled the wars is not his strong suit, like business, as a person in the business world. Because think about it, most politicians, when it comes to wars, it's easy for them to be pro-war and have a more international scope and experience. Trump doesn't have any to be thrust into a war. He's seen during his first administration how to pick up the ball when wars are ending and try to maintain peace for 4 years, which he has a proven track record. But to be thrust in war, he's not so far very good at that. Now he's calmed it down through economics with Ukraine. Israel's basically being Israel, and Netanyahu's going extra hard, but the world is starting to react. And Trump is not actually supporting Netanyahu the way he would like, in my opinion. But more countries are coming to the table and saying, in Israel, you're going too far. So those are the top two, in my opinion. Other than that, in Africa, Trump is doing good work when it comes to wars. South Africa is another question mark, but when it comes to wars in Africa, he has been able to calm a few things down.
Well, it appears that he's taking credit for wars or helping to end wars that he's not helped to end. I don't know what you were talking about with Ukraine, but like we say in just about every episode for the last 3 months, it doesn't appear that Vladimir Putin is really taking Trump seriously. It seems like he's put a carrot in front of him and it's like, yeah, if we do this, we'll end it. If we do this, we'll end it. If we do this, we'll end it. And every single time he continues the war. As a matter of fact, Zelensky went as far as 2 weeks ago to try and prove this by saying, you know what? Yes, we want the war to end. Putin offered us to come to a meeting. I'll come to the meeting. Please, let's end this. I don't think they're serious, and I'm gonna prove it now. And then he was the only one that showed. Matter of fact, he didn't even go. Because Putin said he's not going. Trump said he's not going. He was trying to get an airplane or something. And Putin just was like, I was just kidding. And now it's still going. It's the same thing. I don't know. Ukraine has never wanted to be in this war, so I don't understand what you meant. Maybe it's the second pair of glasses, but you got to show me what you said. What the heck
Exactly.
was it that
Well, think
you
about it.
did? What?
Think about it. Already, Trump has gotten Ukraine to agree to pay back what is owed to us from weaponry and funding and natural resources. I think that's a big win. Also, remember, I keep saying on every episode we bring this up that the troops, Trump has withdrawn American troops. We're not fighting anymore as consultants and contractors. And just like you as a veteran, I say, hey, it's Memorial Day weekend. I apologize that I was late, but thank you for your service.
You being late is not a problem. I just fail to see where he's been effective at all. I don't see it. I don't.
That's why I'm here,
Not
sir.
Ukraine. He said he ended the war in India and Pakistan, right? You know what India had to say about that? They're offended that he puts his name on something that he had nothing to do with. That's what they're saying in India right now on their news stations. I saw that one earlier. I was like, oh wow. They said their offense into Pakistan made Pakistan kneel, and now Trump is trying to take credit for it, and they're ticked. And that's not the only thing they're pissed off about. They're positioning themselves where they're trying to move away from the US. If the US puts a deal on the table, they'll be happy, everybody be happy. But they're not trying to rely on the uncertainty that is Donald Trump, which represents America. So, and that seems to be the overall fever pitch of the entire planet, wherein the only two countries that made a deal was US's closest allies, EU, which there's been nothing solid said about that deal except for there's a deal, everybody's a deal. And China, where it really appears that the tariffs have come down, but we haven't seen anything that China has done. So that would mean that Trump capitulated. I'm not seeing where his tactics have been effective in any way, shape, or form. I've not seen one thing that's been effective. Can you please point something out to me that, as a supporter, that you can point to and say, well, he was effective here?
In the overall grand scheme of things,
He's making things happen, but what has he made positive for America outside of mumbo jumbo, jogging, just talking?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Well, his Secretary of Health and Human Services, Kennedy, has been extremely effective at eliminating a lot of toxins in the foods. So that's one. What else? You want
Let
another
me
one?
see. You mean the same guy who's defunding the NIH? That guy? The
Yes,
same guy who's
exactly.
defunding, who's taking grants away from medical
Yes.
research on cancer? The same
Yes.
guy who's taking medical research
Mhm.
away from that guy? That's the effectiveness? Holy
That's
crap.
right.
Hold
NIH.
up. There's a list on here somewhere. Let's take a look at
Oh,
how
wow.
effective he's been. Oh, he's done one or two things. Let me see. Oh, is that for the next episode? No, he's phasing out eight artificial tax rebates for states that comply with feds. Proof of messaging that Bobby was. No, that's not it. Oh, I think it's on the next episode. That's one of the things I pushed to the next episode because there's so much going on. So I will, for now, let him go. Next episode, I will point out all of the. He's defunding cancer research. He's defunding Alzheimer's research. These are facts. He was sitting in front
The
of
reason
Congress.
I'm shaking my head is because you're focused on that research as opposed to what Kennedy's doing now. NIH is not to be trusted. Why? Because of the COVID vaccine. And guess what? Now, another thing Trump is doing, thanks to his um, intelligence chief, Tulsi Gabbard, they're exposing that people like myself, I'm not saying I'm on it, but there was a list of people that were trying to push out much anti-vaccine information on a terrorist list. So, in 2021, all the people that fought to try to save their jobs in the community from the mandates of the COVID vaccine and the vaccine passport and cards, all the people that were activated myself says, no, that's not fair. There was a whole enemies terrorist list of American citizens. She's voting to live off that. I think that's great.
Actually, it is on this list. So I'm focused on him taking away 3,200 grants, 35 million in Alzheimer's, 47 million in cancer,
Mhm.
55 million in rare diseases.
Beautiful. Because
Well, that's the party of no science.
Because,
So I
but
guess
guess what? Guess what?
research
Because
shouldn't.
that's just one big money grab, and we know it because for decades they've been researching these things to nowhere with no results, little at all. We all know, especially Kennedy, that there's a lot of things that can mitigate that that is not permissible here in our government. But Kennedy, again, as the Secretary of Health and Human Services, the crackpot that they say he is going to make America healthy again by putting some of those natural remedies out there. Isn't that interesting? The holistic healing that Black people love with Dr. Sebi, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. sure is with that.
And Dr. Sebi was, first of all, not even a doctor. Let's full disclaimer: he was not a doctor. He did have some interesting methods with natural remedies, but a lot of the stuff he said was actually mumbo jumbo.
But
So,
didn't he win his lawsuit when he said that he found a cure for HIV and AIDS? Didn't he win that lawsuit?
oh well, a lot of the stuff he did was real. Why do you think I know his name? I followed some of
Don't
the
you
stuff,
think
but some of
that
the
the
stuff he said was
government,
mumbo jumbo.
but don't you think the government and the media would demonize things that would not be in their best interest? Case in point, cryptocurrency. Remember when this first came out? Actually, Trump, I got out of a meeting today with somebody that's helped me invest in cryptocurrency that the people that got locked up, jailed for when they first came out cryptocurrency, Trump recently pardoned those folks. Isn't that interesting how this pardon has been working?
Yes, he's pardoning a bunch of criminals, people that have actually just
Oh,
stole from people. If you
cryptocurrency,
might have
huh?
found out he pardoned them, obviously the person that imparted the pardon information on you didn't exactly explain to you what they went to jail for.
Well, thank
Obviously.
God we have a pardon czar now that's black, and she's going to do much better work, or has already, than our previous border czar. Isn't that interesting? That was also black too, allegedly. Half, something.
Before we go into crypto, if all of this funding into research isn't working,
I didn't say that. I just said it's a one big money grab.
if it's a money grab, that
Hmm.
means that there's something wrong.
Exactly why they're
But these
revamping.
diseases are real. His natural cures are not going to stop it. You're not going to stop. You need to figure out what's causing it.
Of course.
And so
Bad junk food,
he said he figured out what's causing it and he's going to
bad
defund
water.
everybody else. Sounds insane.
It does.
That
That's what reform is
sounds
about.
insane.
Good. That's what them shaking up the system will do. People that will, but people, as I say when I ran for office, people want change, but they don't want to change. Therefore, very little will change. People don't like, people actually like the end game, but they don't like the way Trump and his administration are just, bam, bulldozing in people's faces and cutting everything and pulling all the plugs and everything. But yes, so far, Secretary Kennedy, in my opinion, for what he's doing, is on the right track. Put a pause on all federal grants until Doge comes in or he has and audit everybody to prevent waste, fraud, and spending from all the research they've been doing, like on how to make freaking frogs and freaking all the other sexual progressive stuff they've been doing with the animals, the things of that nature that they showed with all the other scientific research and USAID funding throughout the world, which is one big money laundering scheme. So,
Or they wanted to defund it and made a bunch of hogwash up, some of which might be true, but the vast majority probably isn't. Looking at the way things went, I wouldn't believe any. The man lied. He lied about everything. How could you believe anything that? Yo, if somebody, yo, oh my God, I
you mean
can't believe
Kennedy?
the amount
You
of
mean
things he
Kennedy? He
lies about.
lies?
He's lying about stopping wars he ain't got nothing to
No,
do
you're talking
with.
about
He's
Kennedy
lying.
now. We're
Did you
talking
hear
about
what he?
Kennedy. We're talking about Kennedy, though.
Okay, so if we want to talk about Kennedy,
Hmm.
Kennedy has made his mind up against all the scientific proof that he knows because he's smarter than, he's like Trump, he's smarter than everybody else. He knows what caused all these medical problems, and it's the shots. It's that's it. That's the cause.
You
I'm
see,
gonna
that's the
figure it out. I'm gonna
thing.
figure it out in
Isn't it
3 months. I'm gonna
scary?
defund anybody who. I'm gonna defund all the
Oh,
scientists who say not.
why would you freaking protect something that you can't even talk about and that they will censor you for talking about and questioning? Kenny's very big on why can't we just explore and ask the question about vaccines causing these illnesses? Why not? And he's like, hey, with these COVID vaccines, how come there was no real placebo test with this? Where's all the research? But again, Tulsi and some other people are coming out and saying, hey, under the Biden administration, they actually didn't let the public know about all the ailments that these vaccines would cause. But Kennedy, no, 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 let's just reveal this information. He's not doing he's making sure it's not mandatory. And guess what? All the holistic stuff that the government and doctors will not tell you because it will hurt Big Pharma. Now I'm going to say, hey, these are options. Vaccines are mandatory, but here are other options for you. Pick and choose as you will as a patient. Isn't that democracy?
I personally am a naturalist. When I get sick, I go on my medicine crap and I grab my apple cider vinegar.
Well,
No,
now
I'm not good.
you
When
can't say
when I
that
have a
about.
cold, when I have a cold and it's a bacterial infection, and I know that I need antibodies, I chew on raw garlic. I am a naturalist. I'm an herbalist. All right, let's put that out there. So I'm coming from the place where I believe in all of this. I don't like doctors. If my daughter gets sick, I take her to the doctor. She ate. Why? Because I happen to know enough about the medical field and know that they know more than I do. My daughter studied medicine. She was studying to be a doctor. So I have an inside perspective on what they study and the real that they study that the average person doesn't have. And the layman may be able to be talked into believing that doctors are full of it. But at the end of the day, the truth of the matter is you're being fooled.
I
Somebody
agree.
like Kennedy, who's never studied medicine, can't come in and tell a world full of doctors they're all wrong and don't know what they're talking about. To believe that is foolery.
You got a hand in the audience. But guess what? He does have a
Give me
doctor.
1 second. What, Ava?
You have to have, you have to, you have to put a new pad.
Okay, Ava. Right now I'm on the live. I can't do it right now, but okay, I'll be out in a minute when I'm done. Okay, now do not disturb me again.
I'm gonna have more soda.
Yes, Ava, just don't disturb me again. Go. So, single fatherhood does have its benefits. It definitely has other things, and it's getting hot in here. I didn't. Ava, unlock the door. She locked me in the room.
Well, as they used to say in the 70s, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. Do 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 do
Man, I
do
wear this hat.
do
Stop playing with me.
do.
And she just turned off. I need a second though. Oh my gosh, this little girl.
Back to the Honorable Dion Powell MPA show. Once again, here we put the pinch of common sense over here, and we just use logic and reason. It's like I was trying to explain to Mr. Leo that he does have a doctor in his pocket. They try to demonize as well, which is Dr. Oz. And if you remember, before all this Trump stuff happened and lockdown happened, everybody loved them some Dr. Oz, right, Oprah? And the next thing is, guess who else is on board that's in the backdrop that's a big advocate? Dr. Drew. Remember Dr. Drew from MTV? He's another skeptic as well. Now, these are clinicians, if you want to call that. These are internists, in case I didn't, maybe I'm using the word wrongly in the medical field, but yes, there are two doctors and plus a whole bunch of MDs. You don't have to be a doctor to be a good administrator. For example, a lot of administrators of hospitals aren't doctors at all. But another thing is a lot of nurses got no more than a doctor. Wouldn't you agree? So you see,
No.
it's always good to get a second opinion. Remember that term, second opinion? And that's also a pinch of common sense and your options. That's why Kenny's removing the mandatory from the vaccines, because if you can't say the word vaccine or COVID vaccine, obviously it can't be good if they're going to censor you. So again, he's removing the word mandatory and toss it over there and say, hey, here are additional health options for you and your family.
So they're going to add pollutants like carcinogens, which the definition of the word carcinogen, what the word means in the dictionary is causes cancer. They're going to add carcinogens, things that cause cancer. They're going to pollute the air. They're going to, and then they're going to take away vaccines.
I didn't say that
And oh, by the
either.
way, global warming doesn't
Didn't
exist.
say
Like,
that. Again, Kennedy and his family is vaccinated. Did you know that? But he's
yes.
saying, I'm not going to make it mandatory for you and your family. You have the option to opt out if you want to. And that's again, you don't want the government to mandate anything on you and your life. That's what people on this side believe. Big government is not good with those mandatory things. Less government when it's optional to you as the patient. You should be in control. You, the parent, should be in control, not the school or the teacher or the government.
There were entire diseases wiped out with vaccinations, but a certain amount of the population has to be vaccinated. If 50% of the if that's how it works. You're shaking your
And
head.
how come they
It's
haven't vaccinated the common cold, which still exists, which sometimes could be screwed as COVID or the flu or the COVID flu or the flu COVID? Isn't that interesting?
because of how vaccinations work. Vaccinations don't completely erase something from existence. What it
Well, at
does
least
is it boosts your immune system so that if you do get it, you're not as severely sick. As a matter of
well,
fact, the Spanish flu, which
mhm.
was around in the 1900s, is still around today. And the only reason you don't know the word or use the term Spanish flu is because the vaccination made our immune system to the Spanish flu so strong that it is now one of the more common colds rather than the killer that it was that before COVID had people walking around in mass in Manhattan because so many people were dying.
But guess what? Vaccines actually take a longer period to test with placebos and animals and other trial and errors. But the COVID vaccine, Operation Warp Speed, thanks to Trump, a lot of people hold that against them, came out like that without any of these pre-testing things. And you guys trust, I mean, people trusted it. But again, if you can't say go COVID vaccine without being censured or putting a fact check on your social media, then hey, is it really that good for you?
So here's the whole thing in a nutshell. That vaccine was not properly
Say COVID
vetted.
vaccine, sir.
The COVID vaccine was not properly vetted. And Operation Warp Speed was under the present administration in his previous administration, Trump 1.0.
But he didn't
So,
mandate
no, I
it.
did not agree with that vaccination. You don't agree with it. And guess what? Trump was the blame.
Actually, no, I didn't. Just like Trump, we did not agree with the mandate. And if you go back in time, Guess what? Who argued with Dr. Fauci in public?
He did.
Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
But
But
people
Operation Warp
always
Speed was
said,
his thing.
people say, oh, Trump said inject bleach into your veins. Okay. But he did contradict, push back on Fauci, and he would never mandate anything. But who did mandate it and caused people to lose jobs and lifestyles and vaccine passports and vaccine cards and the mark of the beast? That was Joe Biden. And why did the economy crash so hard? People blame COVID, but no, not really. It's because the administration locked down the country when people like Florida, like Ron DeSantis, would say, no, we should keep the government open and go back as life as usual. That's why some of those states say, hey, whereas New York was still doing, wait a minute, the politicians from New York will fly on their private jets to Florida party, even though it's a racist state. All those little cities, all those little elected officials would fly to Florida to freaking party during your lockdown where you're trapped in your apartment, your business is closed. Wait a minute, the liquor stores are open. So wait a minute, are liquor stores essential workers like everybody else, whereas the barber shop had to be closed? That makes no sense. Common sense to me. Back to you, Skip.
It might be because liquor stores you can pass a bottle through a window with a shield, while barbershops you have to be in somebody's face. But who knows? It could just be common sense. So
We got sidetracked. Go ahead.
well, I guess it was about the research. And you're saying you're happy the research is shutting down, and I suppose that
I didn't
represents
say
what the
that.
Maha feels.
I didn't say
You
that.
did say
I
that.
said that the NIH grants were one big money grab. Kennedy is not shutting down research. Out of the $1 billion that the NIH has to cover, 35 million is what people are crying about for that research. What about all the other research? Again, an audit for waste, fraud, and spending. People have been researching these things for previous presidents with very little to none results. So again, pump the brakes, let's reevaluate this, and let's make medical research effective again. How's that sound?
That would sound great, except for I don't see that happening. What I see is what I told you would happen on day one when he got there. Well, I told you exactly what was going to happen. He's going to go a couple of months and then he's going to blame the vaccinations. He's going to cancel the vaccinations. And that's
That
the
did not
conclusion he's going to
happen.
draw. I told you what was going to happen.
That did not
I
happen
guess
at
it was my
all.
psychic abilities.
You mean cancel mandated vaccinations or cancel mandated vaccinations in general? Because there's a difference. They cancel the
I told
mandate
you
and
what
cancel
was going to
vaccines are
happen.
two different things.
I got lucky. I guessed the future. I wish I was that lucky with Lotto.
But
But
wait, again, Leo, you have to make it clear for your audience. Did Kennedy cancel vaccines or did he cancel the mandate of vaccines?
he
I'm going
didn't
with the
do
premise
any
that
research. He pushed his beliefs on everybody. He got in the position, pushed his beliefs. How did he get in position? Well, when he realized he had to concede the election, he had a meeting with Trump. I don't know what was talked about behind closed doors, but suddenly he's in the position that he always wanted to be in.
I'm glad you said
Doing
that
the one thing he wanted
because
to do,
the
pushing the beliefs that he's
Democrats,
had for the last 30
I
years.
mean, the Democratic donors decided to tell the DNC that, listen, we're not going to have a primary per se. All the delegates are spoken for Biden. So if anybody who runs against Biden is going to lose anyway, Kennedy was fighting a battle that he could not win because the Democratic delegates were already in pocket. He could have won every primary. Because remember, I used to work for Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s PAC, American Virus 2024. And that's true. I was in at the DNC meeting in DC. Freaking on my social media, you'll see pictures with me and Don Brazil right there with my other colleagues. Kennedy could not win. So what did he do? Went third party. After he went third party, here in New York, they knocked him off the ballot. A lot of people don't know that. In New York State, they kicked Kennedy off the ballot in the general election. So it would just be Trump versus Biden. Now, why would they go through all these things countrywide and attack this man? So they say, you know what? Again, politics is politics. Let's talk Kamala Harris. No. Let's talk Donald Trump. Sure. Ice Cube did the same thing with the Black agenda. Let's talk Kamala Harris. Oh, let's wait until after we win. Let's talk Donald Trump. Okay, let's hear you out. The Ice Cube has said it himself. They've tried to cancel him too. Isn't that interesting how it works? So again,
I don't believe
Kennedy,
it's illegal
Kennedy,
for. I believe that Kamala canceled did not accept that meeting because that would not have been legal. Trump
To talk
flaunted the
to
fact
another
that he did it
candidate?
and it was not legal. It was against the rules.
No, 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 no. You've been in this political game too. When Nikki
I
Haley
didn't say that it didn't
lost,
happen. What I said
well,
was
well,
it was
no, no,
against
no,
the
no, no.
rules.
I'm just trying to. What rules are there? You can't in quid pro quo publicly in writing make an agreement like that. But these things happen all the time. For example, when all the candidates on the Republican primary lose to Donald Trump, what are they supposed to do? Toe the party line and say, "Hey, I endorse Donald Trump." Don't you think that should be illegal?
Yes.
Again, the Democrats do
But
the same
that
damn thing.
it was stated that she did not take that meeting. It was stated that she did not take that meeting because she knew it was against the rules.
To
And
have a
Trump
meeting
doesn't
to
follow
talk
the
to people.
rules.
But guess what? Donald Trump is at least willing to talk to you. There's an American journalist who I
Yeah,
can't
against
think
the
the
rules.
name.
He's willing to break the rules.
There's an American journalist whose name doesn't escape me. She said it herself. Listen, when I called Donald Trump, he picked up the phone. Sure, he told me to go fuck myself, but at least I got to him easier than Kamala Harris, where I had to peel an onion of layers of gatekeepers just to try to set an appointment to do an interview that had to be, kind of set up for her. So he's like, you know what? Donald Trump is actually more accessible than the Biden team, surprisingly, even if he doesn't like you. Whereas the other team right now, but long story short, Donald Trump's approval rating is still higher than the Democrats' approval rating. What options do you have to replace Donald Trump? If their approval rating is lower than Donald Trump, don't you think that's not good? If their approval rating was above Donald Trump's approval rating, then you have an argument to say, hey, Democrats should do a better job. In the meantime, this is what we got.
A man that we can't trust anything he says. This man sits down with the president of
Like
South
all
Africa.
politicians, Leo, you
This man
can't.
sits down with the president of South Africa who's
Okay.
coming here to do a trade deal. It's the only reason he's here. And he starts showing pictures of graves and he's like, oh, all these white Africans, South Africans are being killed. Pictures not even from South Africa, bro. Like, it's embarrassing to me now.
That's not true at all.
That is true.
Okay, how do I say this? The press secretary, Caroline Levitt, said, listen, they asked her this question. She said, well, we're not saying this. This is something that you can actually see in the Associated Press. So don't take it from us. Look at the Associated Press. They reported this too. Now, what do you guys say?
What I gotta say is it was wrong. It wasn't
The
true, and it's been
Associated
proven.
Press? So wait. So the Associated Press is wrong, is what you're saying.
Oh my God, it's a shock.
So if the New York
Yes.
Times comes up with something that actually sides with Trump and proves his point, they must be wrong too.
It doesn't matter if it's right or it doesn't matter who reported it. What matters is the facts. See, because we can't fact check anymore, right? But let's fact check it and see where those pictures came from. Some of them pictures weren't from even from South Africa, and then they even had to admit that, well, no, because Trump was questioned about the fact that these pictures weren't real, and what Trump said was, well, they represented graves. Then he started changing his story. So no, the story it's not. It wasn't true. Even Trump admitted it wasn't true. When pressed, he had no choice. So you're defending an angle, and that's what MAGA does, right? Which is why we had these conversations, and I need to have these conversations. I need people to understand. I need to show. I want to see the point where it's like, you know what? Maybe Donald Trump is lying. Maybe there's something wrong with this bigger picture. That's why I have to have these conversations. I want to see what it takes. He admits to you're defending a point that he admitted he was lying about. There's no conversation. He admitted he was lying.
Well, okay, if he is lying, again, I'm just reiterating what the press secretary said. It was reported in the Associated Press,
It
AP.
absolutely was.
Well, there goes that.
The president turned around and said, where is that in his own country? It was sad. Anyway, so they want to make this Jewish American month.
Okay.
How do you feel about that as a black MAGA man who knows that they revoked Black History Month?
That's not true at all. But okay.
What's
The
true?
Well, Black History Month still exists. So what are you talking about?
According to Trump.
Well, let's ask AI. Black History Month. Now, for Jewish History Month, wow, still there. And so is Juneteenth, which is coming up. So, as opposed to Jewish History Month, fine. Again, if you want to have this holiday, you're going to have to start calling it the Gulf of America. We have the right to create holidays. It happens all the time. Cultural sensitive holidays, just like in public school, where they have cultural sensitive holidays as well. For, let's say, Ramadan. Wow. Leo wants to make sure Trump canceled Black History Month, but not Juneteenth. Isn't that interesting?
No, Juneteenth wasn't canceled. Juneteenth was. It's great that Juneteenth is being honored.
Wait a minute. If Trump canceled Black History Month, how can he have a Black History Month event that people I know went to at the White House and who was
Oh no,
honored
he did it
with
after that. He
salutes?
did it after. He did it after Black History. He did it like in March.
A lot of organizations do it in March as well, Black History Month. Isn't that interesting?
Oh boy. All right.
It's all the time when people don't have it
So what you're
together.
saying is they honor February's Black History Month in March.
No, I'm saying in politics, especially when you're a new administration that got in at the end of January, which is close to February, there's sometimes things in event planning gets pushed back. A lot of things in politics happen last minute, Leo. You know this, especially with event planning. And
That's
then on
true.
top of that, in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to priorities, we all know Black History Month wouldn't be on the top of the list when you just get elected as Donald Trump, who actually has DI cuts on top of priority list, which happened beforehand.
Hold on. Let's see.
Wait
Well,
a
I don't know.
minute. In February
I guess it
20th,
depends on the. I guess again, it depends on the
you
news
know, it's Black
outlet.
History Month event in Black History Month. Oh,
Yes, yes, yes. Like I said, it was after.
no, it was in Black History Month. He had his Black History Month event at the White House during Black History Month. It's right there.
Yes, he did, and he did do that, and that was respectful of him. It was great that he did that.
Yes, it was, wasn't it? My
Yes,
friends that went said it was a great event. I couldn't make it. And I actually RSVP too late because of the whole situation, but that's another story.
but I don't want to dwell too much into this. What do you think of? Well, we've touched on it. That's it.
You
I'm
said
moving
Jewish
on.
History Month, and I answered that question, just like the Gulf of
Right,
America.
and it was based on the fact that Trump's administration was working to end Black History Month, as we just saw in black and white.
But his
He signed
first
new
step,
executive orders. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I said, but his first step act was actually a help to Black Americans as opposed to the track record of the previous administrators, Biden Harris. Isn't that great?
So when his administration is trying to pass this big, nasty, ugly bill that's
Big
going to take
beautiful.
away health care from millions of Americans.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, we went through this last episode. I read it for you line for line.
And I literally told you Donald Trump did not want to cut Medicaid, but he kept his promise and got
When
through
the
no
Republicans didn't
taxes
want to
on
pass
tip.
that bill, when the Republicans didn't want to pass that bill, what did he do? He went into the chamber, had a conversation with them, and then they wouldn't vote, so that bill got passed. He himself pushed that bill through.
But guess what? What's the next step, Leo? It has to go to the Senate.
You just said that he didn't want that stuff in the bill, but when they didn't want to push the bill, he went and twisted their arm. That's what happened last week. This time, that's what happened. Anyway, he signs new executive orders buying and selling military equipment and changing the elections because election fraud, right? Because God forbid there's election
Happens
fraud.
all the time.
Well, I have a strange feeling
on both
with
sides.
people. So when ballots are done the way they're being done now, fraud is actually more difficult. You can't just pick up a bunch of. Okay, why don't you explain to me how ballots will be safer the way Trump wants it?
Well, I'm glad you asked because I'm involved here in New York State with an organization called Project Civica. The number one fraud that the president wants to eliminate through his election integrity unit, which I know somebody was part of that during the election cycle, is to purge the voter rolls. What does that mean? Just like Social Security, there's a lot of people who are left on the voter rolls in which a lot of people in different states actually vote on their name because they've been there so long, dead, moved, or otherwise. So there should be a constant purge of these voter rolls nationwide for all these people who are still voting allegedly over 100 years old. That's number one. Number two, the question is that they've had is why does it take longer for the federal election results to come in present day as opposed to paper ballots? So I just want to go back to paper ballots. Number three,
When paper
one
ballots
of
can be
the
picked up and burnt or disappeared.
just like in 2020 with the mail-in ballot freaking increase, because you have something around 6 or 7 million voters who allegedly stayed home in 2024. So a lot of people on this side say, wait a minute, if there was a prevalence of all flooding and mail-in ballots during 2020 during the COVID pandemic, then where did these 6 million to 7 million votes go in 2021? Wait a minute. How come and during Barack Obama's, rage, there wasn't this high voter turnout for Barack Obama when he first came to the scene? That's strange. And so the third thing I wanted to bring up about this is voter ID. The president wants to make sure nationwide that we have United States citizens voting. And one way to prove it when you go to vote is simply put and show a voter ID. You need an
You
ID.
saw what they did in North Carolina with that, right?
What happened?
When they tried to disqualify all those people that came up with their IDs anyway.
Well, in other states, even Pennsylvania and beyond, this voter ID issue comes up all the time on both parties. So again, this is a bipartisan issue that everybody should get on with, just like no taxes on tips, which actually got voted with pretty much unanimous consent.
No tax on tips and no tax on overtime. Great things that they
No
put in the
tax on Social
bill.
Security, which affects our seniors.
Great things that they put in the bill. All three are great things they put in the bill. But
Good.
unlike the tax on the rich, those tax exemptions expire in like 4 years, while the tax on the wealthy that add trillions of dollars to the national debt don't expire ever. So they're throwing us crumbs so that they can steal the pie.
Now, I don't know about that. All I know is that the three no
That's what's in the bill.
taxes. Whoa, all I know is that the three no taxes affect and help more Americans than the tax cuts allegedly to the rich. Only a few
What?
15%, or 10% of rich people will be affected by that. Whereas in
Yes, they will get
totality,
700 extra dollars a day. Do you know what that'll cost the American taxpayer to pay them $700 a day? You're saying that won't affect, you're saying that 10% of the population get an extra $700 a day coming out of the budget is not going to be effective to us? That's going to destroy this country. And the way they're paying for it is by cutting their medical benefits.
I'm so scared. And I hope a lot of people who watch this
I
show are so scared
well,
like me.
I know you're not scared, even though I read it to you in black and white on the
Okay.
last episode.
Okay,
And
well,
you know what I'm
again,
saying is true. As a matter
but
of
at
fact,
least we
I kept
agree.
going and you didn't even want to keep going.
That's cool. But the thing is, we agree on three things that you said yourself just 2 minutes ago that it is good that the Trump administration has now on the table, not passed yet, no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, and no taxes on Social Security. So we agree those three things out of this big, beautiful bill are good.
So what he did was he said, "We'll throw you some crumbs for a couple of years. Y'all don't have to pay these taxes on this, so that we can make $700 a day for as long as we exist."
Well,
That's
guess
a
what?
brilliant strategy. Here, take this little bit for a couple of years. Look what we're doing for you. We're doing all this for you. And then we're going to take all of this. But don't pay attention to what we're doing. No, 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 no. We're going to give you a little bit of his. Look at this. And we're going to
That's
take this. We're going to
right.
take away
Look
your
over
medical
there.
benefits. We're going to take
Whereas,
away your medical benefits. We're going to take away your food stamps if you need
excuse me
those.
while
And
I
we're damn
let
sure
this
going to.
out.
And in a couple of years, I'm sorry.
I say, excuse me while I let this out. Before you overreact and hyperventilate, remember the next phase is what? To the United States Senate. So let's see what they slice and dice. And then on top of that, remember the next step could be Trump could flip the script again and just veto the whole shebang. So let's all relax, family, and with all your anxiety, let's see what
I
this.
would not relax with that bill on the table when the Republicans House of Representatives could not pass that bill. He
It's
went
fast.
in, and the next day they passed that bill.
It's
That
fast.
is what happened. Friday they voted. 5 Republicans said no. He went in on Saturday. Sunday that bill passed. That's what happens.
Now it's on to the
Literally,
Senate.
literally Friday,
Well,
Saturday,
guess
Sunday.
what?
That's what happened.
So let's talk about the bigger monster and threat called the United States Senate, and let's try to be scared about that now. Okay, let's see what they do. This is
I
how it works,
understand
family.
finances isn't
You
your
say
subject,
Constitution. Now
and
it's time for Constitution.
this is a very scary thing. And
That's going to the
the amount
Senate.
of people that actually agree with you
That's
is
going to
even
the Senate.
scarier. I had this guy that I used to work with back in the day, 20 years ago. I used to do maintenance, right? I did maintenance for the Board of Ed.
Okay.
And this guy was a disgusting, despicable human being.
What did he do?
I didn't have a single I worked in that building for 7, 8 years before he got there. Never had a single problem with anybody in that building. But this guy was he was black, but this guy was kind of like Donald Trump. He was always smiling. He was ha ha he, and people liked him. Not, which is, one day I saw this man literally take a piece of food out the garbage and try and give it to a child. Of course, I immediately stopped him. I reported it. You know what they said because they liked him? I'm making it up. It's just me. I just don't like him. And that was the story for people that had known me for years and never seen me have a problem with anybody. But because they liked him and he smiled and he played the game very well,
Mhm.
they believed this craziness. They believed he was just this really nice guy. And he just wanted to be nice to everybody and they believed him. Donald Trump reminds me of this guy. He has the same way of passing off this aura that people just want to believe him and believe and trust in him and don't want to believe bad about him, even though it's true. What he's doing is just as bad
You're
as
destroy the country,
this
right?
Albert George who pulled the food out of the garbage and PS30
George,
and tried to feed it to a kid.
just let it go, Leo. Just let it go.
I did it. That's right. Come
Just let
say
it go.
something to me about it.
Just let it
I
go.
did it. I put the name out there. I ain't making it up.
I didn't say that.
Anybody that's watching that knew me back then knows this story.
There's a lot of people like my
Anyway,
father, they're holding on to that grudge of Donald Trump in the 90s and that grudge of
it's not,
Donald
I don't
Trump
care about
with
Donald
Atlantic
Trump in the
City
90s. I
and
care
that
about
grudge
what's
of
in
Donald
this
Trump for
bill.
not hiring black people, allegedly.
So this bill, up until this bill came out, I always tried to find something good about Trump. If you go back to most of the episodes, 30 to 40% of the stuff I said about Trump was good. You always was like, oh, you hate Trump. And then you have to always go back and look. And I always said great stuff about Trump. Always had positive things to say about him until this bill. This bill was the point where I literally said I can't have anything good to say about anybody who did this. This bill was the deal breaker because this bill is that bad. But just like with Albert George, no one's going to listen until it's too late. Do you know that he actually, after like 2 weeks afterwards, he tried to pick up food off the floor and give it to a teacher? True story. It was a piece of fruit. I just was like, yo, wash the fruit off if you're not going to listen.
Guess what, family? Finally got to realize who hurt Leo.
Listen, I want hurt. I'm not the one eating food out the garbage. If it had been my kid, I'd have beat him up. You know, and what's happening now will affect all of our children. Anyway, we jumped the gun. Wasn't supposed to get into that. All right. So the temporary protective status that was revoked on 300,000 people, TPS. I guess you're in agreement with that as well?
The Venezuelans? Well, okay, let me say this.
Yes.
The border crisis immigration issue, we already know what this man's about. He's going to do his best to deport as many people as humanly possible that came here illegally. So his methodology, some things are extreme, but yes, he's going to do a lot of things that's going to rattle a lot of cages because the human rights feel good. So do I agree with this? I could take it or leave it, but yes, he's going to do everything he can to send a message like, hey, that's not cool coming to this country illegally. And you know what? You guys got to go back. And a lot of people self-deporting through his programs and incentives. Isn't that great?
Okay, so MAGA's happy. The MAGA fans are basically happy with all of this. I can see that.
Yeah, because
Do I
people on the
agree with
MAGA
it?
side, believe it or not, people on the MAGA side, especially Latino community and beyond, a few of those folks are actually deporting themselves. Like, yeah, they got me.
They got tired of this country. They're getting the heck out. Got you. So another executive order: 1 million apprenticeships. To push this, they said people are not coming out of school getting jobs. They use even people that were in the military. If you came out of school and joined the military, they counted you in the numbers of people that didn't get jobs. It's crazy. And so he used these numbers to push apprenticeships versus people having the opportunity to go to college. He wants in this bill, he wants to be able to determine, the government to be able to determine if you deserve student loans, and he wants to cut Pell Grants. Basically, he wants to be able to determine who gets an opportunity and who does not. He wants the government to be able to determine if the little brown boy from Chicago, the little black boy from California gets an opportunity to go to college when they get older. That's what the bill says verbatim. We read it last Thursday. Do I have to pull it back up?
Please don't, Puffy. Please don't. But seriously, so the fact is this. Every administration, locally, state, and federally, does this little dance with education and funding. It happens all the time. Pell Grants are from who? The federal government. Up and down, forever. So again, these things, like he's trying to cut fraud, waste, and spending, he believes that a lot of people have been using and abusing with no ROI. What does that stand for, Leo? It stands
Return
that
on investment.
that's
Okay, so that's great about the
and that
Pell
way
Grants. Now, he wants to
people
be able to determine, because you jumped around what I said. You didn't, I directly said he wants to be able to determine who has an opportunity to better their lives and go to
that's
college by
perverting the
control.
whole
That is
situation.
by controlling, by the government having say so on if you deserve to get a student loan. Not only has he said this multiple times, it's in the bill.
Well, just like any merit scholarship based on your grades, there's a
It's a
certain
loan. He's saying that you can't
Pell
get a
Grants are not a
loan
loan.
if
Pell Grants are not a loan. You don't have
no,
to
no,
pay
I didn't
Pell
say anything
Grants.
about Pell Grants. I said that he's cutting Pell Grants altogether and wants the government to be able to determine if you can get a loan to go to college based off if they feel you deserve it. That's what I said. He said it multiple times. Oh, what he said is, "Oh well, we're not getting ROI on these. We're getting 10% to 20% of people of the money back, and so we shouldn't be able. So if they shouldn't be able to get loans, we need to be able to determine who gets the loans." He's trying to control if your child has an opportunity to better their lives with a higher education by controlling the loans. He said it multiple times. It is in the bill. I read it last time we were
So
on.
you too should be upset, outraged. However, remember the student loan debt crisis we're coming from? In my opinion, something like this actually long term may be a good thing. So we don't return to a what? A student loan debt crisis. Because
So who do
again,
you think he's going? Who do you think the government? I've looked at his cabinet, man. I've looked at it. Let's take a quick gander.
nothing.
I'm just going to pick up a
Nothing.
random picture.
Identity politics are meaningless on this side of the fence, and people have to realize that. And all identity politics that was promulgated before, a lot of people waking up and saying, "Wow, that didn't really help all the people it should have." And the results were horrible. Look at all the people that they would say have gone woke as a result of forcing all these DI, diversity, inclusion, wonderful goodness things down people's throats. But let's look at the pictures of the cabinet and let's be outraged as well.
Well, I mean, I look at here and determined by I don't see a single black face anywhere.
Well,
Look
what
at
would that do for
this.
you? Even if you did,
So who
that
do you think is going
person,
to get the? Who do you think the government's going to say has the opportunity to go to college based on the people that Trump surrounds himself with? Who do you think is going to get the opportunity? If you got a kid that comes from a black school in a black area, you get a kid comes from a white school. Who do you think is going to say, you know what, this one gets an opportunity to get student loans to go to college? Who do you think he's going to say gets that opportunity?
well, I'm sure the president of the United States is not reviewing every application. In
No,
addition
but
to
look
that,
at the people that's around him. Who do you think they're going to give the opportunities to? You mean to tell me you don't think there's going to be some racial tipping and that black people are going to want up having to, because the opportunities are there to go to school, just not for higher education. You can get trained to go work in a plant. It almost sounds like, what was that, slavery? Let's call
Jim
it for what it
Crow. How
is,
about
indentured
Jim Crow?
servitude.
Jim Crow, maybe. But seriously, people, we've
Indentured servitude.
heard these scare tactics before.
It's not scare
They're
tactics. It's
not
written in the
working.
bill.
But
It's
guess what?
literally written. I
We
read it to you.
we've heard all this type of whistleblowing and some say fear mongering, but the awareness you're causing is not getting the same reaction as before because we the people don't understand anymore. We don't believe such talking points, nor do we trust all these preposterous future predictions.
It's not a future prediction. It's written in the bill. It's
Best way to hide
literally.
something, put it in the book. But guess what? It still goes to the Senate. So that's a fact. Deny that fact if you like, but the fact is, this big beautiful bill, now that it's come out the damn
On the
house,
Senate floor.
it's going to the Senate. Stay tuned to be scared and see what happens. Coming to focus.
That is true. It's going to
Thank you. We agree on the
the
truth
Senate.
for a change, not speculation and weather prediction.
It's not speculation. I literally read it off the government website. I kept reading. You wanted me to stop. It was so bad.
Okay, well.
Judge temporarily blocks the ban on Harvard enrolling international students. And Trump's response to that, by the way, is, well, he wants to see the entire list of all the international students.
Okay.
I know how you feel about that, but why don't you tell the public how you feel about that, just for the record?
Well, again, anything that deals with international studies of students, they're cracking down on. Why? Because a lot of these systems are just mutating into campuses that are, oh, excuse me, not really academically focused or productive or actually producing members of society that are going to succeed. So he's been
No,
cracking
Harvard
down.
is definitely not producing members of society that's going to succeed.
Well, I will say that they do not need federal money to exist. How about that? Let's just stop there, no matter who the president is.
Well, they're going to need more money if their international students is blocked. How can you target? The government can't. The president does not have the legal capability to target an institution that way, which is why it got blocked.
Well, guess what? Again, they try to have a religious charter school using public money for religious benefits. So why are we
Yes,
using
the courts
public
blocked
money?
that.
Why are we using public monies to help finance and subsidize a prestigious, expensive private school like Harvard? This should be a bipartisan effort, just like revoking nonprofit statuses of institutions like the NFL. Madison Square Garden. That's the same categories to me. of having government money and subsidies helping private institutions. You hate the billionaires, don't you? The tax breaks. Well, that's a perfect example of what should stop.
I would not disagree with you on that at all. My problem is it's not. No, no, I happen to agree with you. You're right. I like to call it down the middle. You know that, yeah, and you're right.
Jim
The
Ross.
problem is he's not going across the board. He's targeting people he doesn't like, and that's the issue. Because what I said is he can't target individuals. If he did that to everybody across the board, I'd applaud it. But not Trump.
Well, he's trying to
Not
cut
Trump.
DEI across the board. How's that sound?
Of course, because cut DEI, cut the opportunity for people to be able to get loans to go to school, and I just showed the screen. So the executive orders for 1 million apprentices, we did that. Justices to Congress review Clean Air Act and rule for the Senate by overriding the filibuster for Clean Air Act and congressional review. Oh, so Congress just was like, we don't need clean air. Yo, I said they don't believe in science. They was just like, clean air, pollution. We don't need that. We good. You don't
Well,
need to breathe.
well,
Cancer.
again,
Don't want
just
none of
like everybody has said, the environmental protection has become an industry and a money grab. Here we are. And that answers that. So he's getting big money out of big environmental protection. Actually, Zeldin, former congressman from New York, who's in charge of what? The Environmental Protection Agency that makes grants to people that Stacey Abrams sits on the board of, entities as such.
that. And in order to override the filibuster,
Okay.
congressional review was pushed to the side. They wouldn't even bring it to the floor. They are now doing things that are legal but unprecedented.
Oh God. Remember, the filibuster is a tool. So far, whoever has the majority and the filibuster is used for what? The minority. So if the Democrats majority and the Republicans try to use a filibuster, they would hate filibuster. They would, how can I say this? They would love and hate the filibuster until they can use it. Just the
They
Republican
went around congressional review.
and a parliamentarian, I think it was. But again, these things happen. Now, do I agree with it? I'm a member of the parliamentarians. Oh, I can't read your book right now of Metro New York. But yes, they're doing what they can, do what they got to really ramp through these things. Do I agree with it? Not so much, but hey, it is what it is. And then what does it actually hurt in the grand scheme of things?
Well, global warming is getting worse. No, climate change is getting worse. Let's
Why
let's
can't you
let's
say
talk about
global
that. Last
warming?
time
Well, before
I did
climate
not
change.
clarify. Maybe I should have explained to you that I was an environmental science teacher for 2 years before as a prelude to explaining the difference between climate change and global warming. Climate change is what the pollution is causing. Global and that means the weather can go up and down. That means that sometimes we get tornadoes and have bad tornado seasons like we're having now and have had for the last 5 years, and they're getting worse. That's global. That is climate change. Global warming is caused by climate change. That is why the sea level is rising. They're not the same. Global warming is the global warming is a side effect of climate change. It is caused by climate change. Climate change is the problem. Global warming is a symptom, which is making things hotter, the sea level, and it's not just because when you talk about weather getting hotter in an area, you're not talking about global warming. You're talking about temperatures in an area. You're talking about weather. When you talk about global warming, the entire planet has warmed up by, I believe, 2 degrees, maybe three. I'm not up to speed. But what that's causing is the polar ice caps to melt. And when they melt, that adds water to the oceans, which is causing the sea level to rise. That's global warming. Climate change is the tornadoes and the hurricanes and all of the crazy weather we're seeing. They are not the same. Now that I've explained that, all of this is happening and it's caused by the pollution, which is what the Clean Air Act was meant to help try to nullify and try and straighten out. And when we're finally, hopefully, we're starting to get on path to do something, Trump is like, it doesn't exist. Clean Air Act, what? Yo, let's get rid of this. Let's pollute. Pollution is a figment of your imagination. Smog isn't real. Like you haven't been to other countries and seen that if you go into a city, the pollution is way worse than it is in America. We were leading the world. Now we're going to be falling behind.
Well, unfortunately, the number one polluter of the world is who?
China.
Well, why would we root for China in a tariff war and we want them to win and say we need them so
What
much?
does that have to do with what I just said?
Well, guess what? If there is no way to police the world pollution if we did it with America, we have to take down China. Because if I'm looking at these numbers correctly, China actually pollutes 3 times more than America.
But China is also working harder to try and clean up their act. And Donald Trump is turning, yes, absolutely. They lead the world in electric vehicles, bro. They lead,
China
not the United States, not Tesla. China leads the world in electric vehicles.
and pollution. How is that possible to lead the
They're
world?
trying to reverse their act while America's like, while Donald Trump's like, let's give this money to, let's get this
So
money
for
later
China,
for the
not
environment.
America. The point is this: be that as it may, China still pollutes the world 3 times more than America. Shouldn't we be
So
mad?
what? The United States should try and catch up to them? Is that what you're saying? That's the argument. The United States should try and pollute as much as China does, because that's what these bills are doing. We want to be as bad as China. That's what you want.
I don't think so. But yes, I don't think so.
That's what the bill. That's what the bill's saying. Literally, let's
We're
go. Let's
going to
pollute
the
more.
Senate.
The bill says let's pollute more. That's what the bill says. Let's add to pollution.
I don't know if that says it explicitly like that, but again, it goes to the Senate.
Okay, so we're gonna cut out the stuff that stops us from polluting, so we can pollute more. Say it
Let's
how
see
you
what,
want.
let's see what the Senate says. How about that? Let's wait for that episode.
I pray that I don't. It's going to pass. It's going to pass. We're going to be in a time where we're back in slavery. That's
No,
or it's
Joe Biden said it best. They're gonna put you all back in chains.
that bill does it. No
Oh,
health
here we
care.
go.
People won't be able to get food.
Nazi,
You won't be
Nazi,
able to go to
Nazi.
school.
Hitler, Hitler,
And this is
Hitler.
real. Like he's really get. This is Project 2025.
Well, here we go.
Anyway, Maha phasing out 8 artificial dyes. That's a great thing. It's the one good thing he's doing.
There's more than that, but okay.
Tax rebates for states that comply with the feds. So if you phase out the dyes, they'll give you tax rebates.
Okay.
I can go along with that. Let's get rid of them dyes. California already got them out. I'm with it. Let's go. This is proof. Bobby Kennedy is a singular proof of the messaging of Maha and the power of messaging. This man, RF Kennedy, has been beating this drum for decades. Nobody paying attention to him. Now, with the proper messaging behind him, all of a sudden he's the hero of the United States for pushing the same message he's been pushing for decades. Maha and Donald Trump's Republicans are the masters of messaging.
Propaganda?
We can all take a lesson.
Propaganda? Propaganda? Is that what you're saying? Alluding to propaganda?
I'm just stating the facts. You can take from it what you
Well,
want.
I'll take it from here, and I'll say this: Kennedy didn't really have much problem with messaging, as to opposed to being allowed to have his message out there. If you remember, when the COVID lockdown happens, and fact checking, but before that, still mainstream media, which is what paid and sponsored by Big Pharma, they wouldn't even let him be on a stage to actually express his ideas and opinions and explore it. Thanks to Children's Health Defense, which is a nonprofit that helps so many people that were fired for not taking the COVID vaccine, this is how a lot of insular groups started forming throughout the year, especially after the lockdown, through the signals, the telegrams, the WhatsApp, and created their own podcasts and channels and platforms to actually put out there. But it's getting more prevalence now that he's on the world stage as the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Remember, ABC News itself, when Kennedy was on the campaign trail, censored, edited, and took out the segment where they questioned him about the COVID vaccine, and he just gave his opinion based on the facts presented to him. Now, I ask you again, how is that a good thing as opposed to just letting the man talk, speak his mind, and put everything out there? Beat up on him if you want, agree or like it or not. I agree with the dyes and pollution and toxins in the food. I agree. but disagree with him removing mandates and mandatory vaccinations.
Yes, because there's a lot of people that are going to make this country worse because they're going to believe everything that him and Trump say. Okay, so for example, right? Let's talk about these drugs. Trump is like, we're going to pay the best, we're going to pay what the least, what the country that pays the least amount pays in drugs. I would be so happy about that, and I was for a moment, and then I thought about who said it. And I said, it's probably not true. There's going to be a catch.
You want to shoot the
Because nothing he's
again?
done, because nothing he's done has been on board. And, when I try to get excited about something he's doing, it turns out it's bad every single time. This bill has done it for me. So I haven't been able to find a single um example of when we pay 100 times more for medicine than somebody else. Have you seen any examples of that?
I think it was for insulin and diabetes. They were
Okay,
actually,
let's look it up. There we go. Insulin.
but I think that's one of the things too. And I think there's another situation where it might be actually a vaccine too that we pay more for than anywhere else in the world. And Big Pharma is cashing in on us being unhealthy. And that's what Kennedy has been beating his chest about. The multi-billion-dollar health industry based on making the systems, foods, and pollutions, making us unhealthy, and the entities that benefit as such. So, but we have plenty of
Insulin is
science.
expensive.
We still have and diabetes strips because which in the hood, if you see signs that say we'll pay you for diabetic strips. Oh no, blood what do you call that thing? When you have kidney dialysis, yeah, dialysis for kidneys and things like that. There is a large price tag too as well. Kidney dialysis. I'm sorry, excuse me. But yeah, that's what they're putting out there.
That's actually accurate. Something to be happy about.
Shut up, internet. Be
But guess
quiet,
what?
AI.
But that's not in this bill. As a
Okay.
matter of fact, if I recall correctly, he did try and do something with the companies, but he didn't do anything solid. He asked them. He didn't. There's no
Executive
bill where
order,
he
executive order,
demanded it.
executive order, executive order, executive order.
You cannot demand prices in the private market.
Let's
It's
see
not
about
true.
that. Executive order, healthcare, executive.
We went over this in the previous episode.
Yes, executive order asking companies to lower drug prices.
Asking.
All right. And yeah, well, that's a step in the right direction. Breaking down executive order mandating multiple VA reforms. Yes. So here we are. Okay, he asked them. But believe me,
So he's done nothing
but guess
but
what? He
ask.
does, thanks to Kennedy, Kennedy especially is in charge of what? All the public hospitals in the nation. So just imagine what Kennedy can do.
Make more requests. Trump says that Fox News polls can't be trusted because they're saying that his ratings are going down. Now Fox can't be trusted? What is happening?
Well, it seems as though Fox actually viewership has increased. So the American public and opinion is willing to trust Fox as opposed to CBS, NBC, MSDNC, and the Communist News Network, whose rating ship is going in the toilet because they can't be trusted. So Trump's not really even worried about them anymore, but Fox News is getting a lot of trust and opinion. So that's his
Well, they're
opinion
saying
versus
that
their
his
facts.
ratings are
That's
going
it.
down and Trump says they're lying.
Okay, well, that's anything's possible. The point is this: he is not going to censure them, whereas the public is actually using their power of viewership to actually increase Fox News. But Fox has always been a friend of Trump. The fact that they're going back and forth like this is actually a good thing. It actually shows you that Fox can actually be pretty objective and they actually go against the president, or they're just putting the facts as is.
I'll leave that.
That's
So
good. That's
Trump had
good.
dinner sometime last week, or
Let's
this
see.
week is Sunday. So Trump had dinner last week with the people that spent the most money on his personal coin. Here's the thing, right? According to Caroline Levitt, right? According to Shorty, little blonde. According to her, you know what she said?
The
She
youngest
said,
press secretary in history. How about that? That's a first timer. So you gotta give her props for that, right? If she was the first black, that'd be great news, right?
actually, that is impressive. Very impressive. I didn't even see her knee pads. So, in order for Trump, what she said was Trump was having a private dinner that had nothing to do with the presidency, so it's not grifting.
We're gonna use the term grifter for Trump.
So he's not making quid pro quo deals as president because this is a private dinner that has nothing to do with the presidency.
Okay.
Now,
What's
here's
the
where it
current
gets
president?
interesting, right?
Where?
So his immunity only is active if he's doing things as president. So if it is found later that he's doing quid pro quo with people, like, I don't know, people that were, how do we say this, pardoned for stealing in the Bitcoin sector, in the crypto sector, if he's found guilty of cutting deals with them, and he's not acting in the presidential status, then he can actually be charged.
With what?
I don't know. Something happened because he jumped up right away and was like, "No, no, this is an official dinner." He cut off. He changed what she said and made it a presidential deal.
Well, guess what? Let's say you're 100% correct for argument's
That's what
sake.
he did.
Okay. Well, you know what I always say in situations like this, when you have a problem that he's committing something illegal or egregious?
Oh, well, the
There's
Democrats
a
do it
process.
too.
Oh, there's a process for this. Let's see. Excuse me while I put this out again. It's called an impeachment, which is an indictment on the president of the United States. So there's a mechanism for that too. If anybody doesn't like it.
Well, it looks like he's trying to play ball so that he doesn't get caught out there. He changed up what Caroline Levitt said. She might have overstepped. I think that after she said it, somebody called him and was like, bro, you might not want to do that." And that's why he put it out on social media that it was a president thing, which means as president, he is committing um quid pro quo deals outside of the airplane. And he
Just
can't
like
fly as
Hunter
Air Force
Biden's
One
laptop.
because a foreign airplane cannot be used as
Hunter
Air Force
Biden.
One.
Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden's laptop.
Well, okay, Hunter Biden. So then we have the son of the president. Now we have the actual president committing far worse deals, like far worse.
So
Like he's releasing
he
people
should
for
be able to
president.
pardon himself. He should be able to pardon himself all the way back to 2016, just like President Biden pardoned his son all the way back to 2014. So presidential pardon again.
I don't think you can pardon yourself. I don't think it works like that. Matter of fact, if history serves me, I do believe that somebody had to step down and have his vice president step up and pardon him after he stepped down. Sound familiar?
Well, that's because he resigned.
He resigned because he was going to get all of the stuff that Trump was going to wind up getting. But when he did it, he couldn't pardon himself. He had to have the person that stepped in pardon him. Isn't that how that worked?
Right. But in the first time in
Tricky Dick?
history, a president pre-pardoned people. That doesn't sound like how pardons work. Don't you agree?
It does not sound like how pardons work. No, it does not.
Well, there you go. And then one of the people that he said he wasn't going to pardon was his son. That's a surprise. And now on
It
top of
sure
that,
was. Like, oh my
and now
God,
on
he
top
pardoned
of
this
that,
kid. Couldn't see that coming.
Congress, no, no,
You got both glasses on still?
he pre-pardoned. No, I don't have one pair now. He pre-pardoned his son to 2014, a specific year. Why is that? But it's come to find out that hey, Joe Biden wasn't really all there altogether, which is not on this list to talk about. And on top of that, there were only 5 people helping him around. So who was running the country? The Republicans.
Those 5 people, without
Who
question, 100%.
who was fighting all the way there? Did they really think he was going to win the election? Why is he still beating his chest that he would have won? So he was senile, one fall away from being in a wheelchair like Franklin Delano Roosevelt, but still, President Biden, there's going to be congressional hearings to find out who was running President Biden's administration for 4 years. Isn't that a good thing?
Yes. Thank you for bringing it up. Yes, it is. 100%. I'm not a Biden fan.
Oh man.
So, what you want me to say?
I want you to
Anyway,
say how many Congress people, consultants, and donors who actually control the Democratic Party knew this beforehand, yet lied to the American people and covered up everything they're in.
well, they wasn't trying to pass a bill that was going to kick millions, tens of millions of people off of health care and take away food stamps and make black people slaves again. So, if I had to
But the
choose, I'd choose
president,
Biden.
but the President Biden also opened the floodgates called the border. He could have shut it down the whole time and everything there. But they blamed Donald Trump for stopping that bill, but that wasn't true either. We had a border czar that hasn't been to the border, or France for that matter. And it's like, wow, what the hell happened? And President Trump said it best in his congressional address. We didn't need a bill to stop the border. We just needed a new president. And that's what happened.
So now the president wants to put tariffs on Apple. This is like the same thing with Harvard. He's not weaponizing his position to be able to target particular companies. Harvard, Apple, and Apple because they want to build plants in India.
And
In
Hollywood, don't
India,
forget
who's trying,
Hollywood. Hollywood too.
he's targeting Apple because they want to build plants in India with tariffs. That's his plan right now.
Like every other American company that actually moved out of America to do business in a foreign land and build in a foreign land and hire in a foreign land, he wants them to stay put here. That's why the gold card is so important for all these international billionaires to move here, get automatic citizenship, and put their companies here.
Getting here and getting automatic citizenship and bringing their companies here, that's not going to work for any company that has to pay American wages. If they can automate, that'll be great. Outside of that, it's not going to work.
Well, we'll see how many people want citizenship. Well, the first is the climate now with immigration who have the money.
So they're getting rid of the penny.
How do you feel about that?
Well, let's talk about inflation, right?
Oh boy.
What do you think if they can't charge us a penny, if you can't give us a penny and change anymore, and it's only 5 cents in change, how do you think that's going to affect prices?
I don't know. But just like when you go to the 99-cent store, you go to the regular store, the item says 99 cents on it, only seniors bitch and moan about where's my penny when you give $1. Isn't that interesting how you give people in the hood $1 for a 99 cents labeled item and they don't give you back your penny? It's the same thing. Just like now in the hood, there's certain areas that don't accept pennies. Just like there's certain areas in the well-to-do areas of downtown that don't accept cash. So there you go.
So if there's no more pennies, what that would mean is, I don't know about you, right? But I know how to count. And I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying I count my money, all right? 100 pennies is $1. Throughout my lifetime, I've had thousands of dollars worth of pennies. And listen, I've the times of my youth when I need to go buy a pack of cigarettes and I'm literally counting up the pennies to get that pack. I haven't smoked in 20 years.
Yikes.
I bought 25, something like
But
that. I lost count.
Leo,
I gotta
again,
count.
I have to remind you, this has happened throughout presidential history, and I can prove it. Remember, they discontinued what? The $2 bill. Remember,
Yes, but the two
they
dollar bill wasn't the lowest denomination on the count on the chart. So when you cut
that
off the
doesn't
lowest,
matter.
when you cut off the lowest, then everything goes up because there's no place to go. You have to go up. So now you won't get a nickel back. So now everything has to be in 5 cent denominations. So now it's going to cost 5 times as much.
Economics is not my strong suit, so I'm gonna defer to you on that one. But my common
All right,
sense
so if something costs a
doesn't make
penny and there's no
sense.
more, so if you're supposed to get a penny back and there's no more pennies, now you got to get 5 cents back, right? But if something costs 7 cents, now it can't cost 7 cents no more. It has to cost 10 cents. So it costs you 3 cents more. You do that across the board with everything you buy, and these prices, it causes prices to go up. It's just, there's no other way to go about it.
Okay, well, we shall see.
I mean, I mean, how can you give me any other way that can work?
I don't know. Like I said before, economics is not my strong suit. My point is, historically speaking, phasing out a form of currency happens all the time. For
That's not a form of
example,
currency. That's a not denomination in a form of currency. And phasing out that denomination
phasing out
means that
coins,
everything has to go above. At the bottom level means everything has to go up. It's going to cause money prices to go up. It's just no other way around it.
I have to take your word for it, I guess.
All right. So something else you got to take my word for. Do you know the largest demographic in schools right now in the United States?
What do you mean?
The number one demographic to attend institutes of higher education.
Let me guess. Black woman?
Yeah,
And who has the highest student loan debt?
probably the people that attend school the most, I would guess. So people trying to improve their lives in America.
It
Good
was
for
about
good for
student
my
loan debt,
sisters.
but the student loan debt crisis has to be exposed in the industry that benefits therein.
So instead of exposing it and dealing with the industry, you're gonna stop them from being able to go to school because now you can determine that they're not worthy to go for higher education according to this bill.
That's not true at all
That's what
because
the bill says.
you can always go to a public university. Isn't that right?
Up until what level? And if you
Graduate
can't get
school.
student loans, and you can't afford to go, how do you do it?
Well, some schools have, oh, actually, public sector has student loan forgiveness for people that's, let's say, in the
You
medical
cannot
field.
get the student loan, so the loan forgiveness doesn't come into play. The opportunity is being cut off for black people to go to college.
It just affects black people, right?
No, it's not going to just affect black people. Brown people will probably get hit just as hard.
Do they call themselves brown people?
Is that relevant?
Yes, if you're going to use black people to be the face of this crisis.
Well, we're going to be targeted. There's no question. If I got to show more pictures of what the people that surround Trump and his regime look like, I can. But do you think they're going to target white people? Is that what you honestly believe? You
Where are we
can't
going
believe.
with this
Please tell
one?
me you don't believe that.
Where are we going with this one other than the circle of life, which is universally the whole race agenda?
Well, as I said on previous episodes, I did not believe that Trump was a racist in the past. But this bill has proven me wrong,
No,
hands down, without question. Even if he's not a racist at heart, this bill is a racist bill. I mean, it's just like the Medicaid or whatever. Actually, his people are good with that. His people are going to be hit just as hard, probably harder. But but they're going to be given better opportunities to get out of the situation they're in through the loans than we are. So basically, they're going to have our children going to work in plants and their supervisors and bosses being white because you're going to have an education to get those jobs.
wow.
Uh, Forgive me for being able to read. I like to read.
Well, we'll see what the viewers say in the comments on this one.
I I guess. All right. I guess there's not really much left to discuss today. And what is your take on it? You think I have a wild imagination? How do you read the government being able to determine which individuals are able to get student loans? What do you get from that? Please enlighten
Well,
me.
it sounds about right because people get loans all the time based off what? Credit score. So people get loans all the time for a house based on what? Past credit history. And on
But
top
this
of
bill
that,
says, but this bill says they'll be able to determine. They want to be able to determine if you're a going to be able to be a good student.
Okay.
That's what the bill says. That's crazy. We're not going to let you go to school. We're not going to give you a loan because we don't think you're going to be a good student. How do you think that's going to work out?
I think, and I know for a fact, it's going to work out in the Senate. So let's see what they work out.
The Senate's not trying to change that.
We don't know
The
that yet.
Senate likes it.
We don't know that yet.
Well,
Let's
listening
see what
to
they
what
slice
all
and
of
dice.
the Republicans are for this. They want to do more damage, not less. If they hold it up, it's because they want to take more out of Medicaid.
Well, again, we'll see what happens when it reaches the president's desk. Will he veto it? Stay tuned.
Well, I mean, when it wasn't going to get to his desk, he wouldn't and twisted the Republicans' arms, and the next day they voted for it. So we know where he stands. And then he came out and he said he had a good feeling it was going to pass now after he spoke to them. He had a good feeling. That was his words. He went and he is singularly pushing this bill. When the Republicans didn't want it, he pushed them. He wants this bill. There's no defense of him not wanting it, and he wants this bill.
So why would he curse them out if they try to cut Medicaid?
When they didn't want to cut Medicaid, which was the reason they voted against the bill, he went and twisted their arm to vote for it. And instead of voting for it, they abstained. They wouldn't vote and let it pass through, but they wouldn't put their names on the bill because of the Medicaid cuts, according to the Republican
Did not
House
want
of
to cut
Representative
Medicaid.
members. Their words.
Okay, well, again, I'm trying to say he cursed them out because the Republicans wanted to cut Medicaid, not him. That's the point.
No, that's not what happened. The Republicans stated they did not want to cut Medicaid and they voted against the bill. But I mean, they wanted to cut Medicaid. The Republicans that voted against the bill because of the Medicaid cuts. They said they would not put their name on that bill with the amount of Medicaid cuts and how it was going to affect their constituents. The next day, Saturday, he went and had a conversation with them. On that Sunday, they did not vote. He pushed that bill through, and even though the Republicans did not want to push the Medicaid cuts, he went and pushed it. He wanted the bill to pass with the Medicaid cuts. Regardless of what he said to the cameras, that's what he did.
Jesus Christ. Well, shout out to Michael Silverbaum because if you look up Trump Medicaid cuts, there are certain articles where it says he did curse them out if they cut Medicaid, and that's what happened.
Well, what happened was they voted against the Medicaid cuts and he went in and then they voted for the Medicaid cuts. That's what happened. What
Trump
he said
cannot
and what
vote
he
on
did,
this. That is a fact. Trump cannot vote on this. Let's not get excited.
no. So he went in and twisted the arms of the people that could.
Oh God. Well,
That's what he did. Then he came out and he said, I have a good feeling about this.
it's the bill sitting on Capitol Hill. Time to go to the Senate.
That bill
It's going to destroy the world if it passes. You'll
is
see.
going to hurt black people
Trust
tremendously. It's
me.
going to hurt the
I'm
country
hurt already.
tremendously.
I'm hurt already.
And I sat and read it to you last time we were on. Like, you know, the stuff is in there.
I'm still
Like
scared.
I pulled it up, I read it to the audience.
I'm scared. But are you people that's watching this show?
You're not really scared. But I mean, those of us that are in the know are preparing. Are you?
With your bunker? Sure.
Anyway, we'll have more discussions. There's going to be a lot to talk about. Trump is keeping us busy as possible. There'll be another episode up later this week. We'll be back next Sunday, 9 o'clock p.m. Every Sunday. Tune in for us. Please subscribe. Help us get to that 100,000 mark. Leave a comment. We respond to everybody. Dion, you can tell them how they can contact you for your business. And you never sent me the information. Send it to me in a text and I'll throw it in the description box.
Okay. Well, seeing as though my laptop is connected to my text message, I'll do that right now. You can actually message me at Dion at nyconsultant.us. That's Dion at nyconsultant.us. I want to thank everybody for their service this weekend. And we can see from Leo being a single dad that, hey, seeing as though tomorrow's no school, the kids get to play up later at night. And on top of that, you see this big light that's reflecting in the backdrop of my ceiling. That's thanks to Leo's pretty blazer. So shout out to Leo, who's rocking that nice stylish white blazer that's bouncing my light off the blazer to my wall. Man, thank goodness these sunglasses are not transitional, so I'm not hit too hard.
All right. Well, I think that's going to be it for tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the episode. And you can see the opposing points of view are only growing larger, and we're not getting closer together on this. I hope that I hope that things work out for the best in the long run. In the short term, I do have a grim.
Damn that
Those
blazer.
shares are actually kind of cool.
Damn that blazer. We'll see what happens next week.
All right, everybody. This is LC signing out.